Oh man, really, we gotta get this dance video feed for our patrons.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's, oh my gosh, that's so spooky. That's literally what I was about to say. Like, that's strange.
Wow, y'all.
Crazy.
It must be done then.
So spooky. Oh man. Oh hey, we're live.
Hello.
Oh, hey.
Hello. Hello,
Hey,
hello, hello,
everybody.
hello.
Long time no see.
Hello.
No, welcome back to ProfsPlay Season 3. I guess we should do some quick intros in case anybody hasn't met us before.
Is this an official season or is this our summer
It's
session?
like our summer season, right?
Because I'm going to kick it off with the thing we can do over the summer. Shit. All right, here we go.
In case you didn't click the OK, mature audiences only.
Yes, mature audiences for summer session.
All right, I got it out of me.
Mature audiences, and Jay is just like, shit. That's the word you choose. Come on,
I know,
Go hard, go hard.
All right.
That's funny.
Of things to come this summer. I'm so happy to see y'all again. Honestly.
Yeah,
obviously, in the pre-show, the patrons only pre-show. I don't know. It feels so good to just be reunited with everybody.
Yes.
What up?
Hello.
Eight-headed boy. We gotta really make use
Hey,
of our
what's up?
chat conversation moments now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I can fix the Valorant stream
Thank you.
title. That's the category. It didn't work. Darn you, Twitch.
Valorant stream title. Okay. Ooh.
Oh, it's probably because we needed to set that on here.
Oh, that's good, eight-headed boy. Our party is the Valorant. That's why it's stream titles as such.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh,
Yes.
that's exactly.
Did I die? Hello.
Death count. We
Y'all
gotta start
froze for me.
reset
Oh
the death
no.
count. We haven't even started the game and it's death count. Yes.
Hi.
Well, hello. All right, we're setting the tone already. Hey,
Yeah,
boy.
So,
Heck yeah,
so
thank you so much.
for anybody who is catching up, my name is Prof A from the channel Prof A Plays. How's it going? And I'm joined by my fellow profs, academics, designers, peoples. I don't know where to pass it. I'll pass it over to you. Got that no look pass? No look pass.
Yeah.
Over to Jay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. It was a no look catch too, I guess. Apparently. Hello. You caught me in the middle of pulling a Spider-Man pointing meme where I was resubscribing to our channel. So hello, hang on. Let me hit the share thing. And there we go. Eight-headed boy, thank you so much. You beat me to it. Thank you for the tier 1 subscription. Appreciate it. I'm pointing at myself and subscribing as well. So hello. Yes, it's great to be back. I'm looking forward to what we're up to today. I'm Jay Plays Games. You see that we have different names, so you can probably imagine what we're about to do today and for the next few weeks. I'm excited for that, and I'm looking forward to doing this. We are going to have just a few minutes before we get going to just kind of pre-talk, right, about our like D&D experience and stuff, or are we just going to kind of get to it? Okay, all right, cool. So I'll save some of that commentary, but I'm excited for this, something totally new and out of character for me, literally and figuratively. So hello, I will drop it straight down.
Oh God, I caught it. I caught it.
Gravity works different between the portals, right?
Oh, I should have come from below. Hello, I am Prof Lynette. Is that what we're doing? I zoned out because I was trying to fix the stream title. We had the hype train.
I don't know. What's good, everybody?
Who we are, what we're doing. Yeah. Wizard PhD, also Tamari, which you'll find out about in a second. I will pass it with a big drum roll to my good friend Sweater Wolf.
Hey, what's up? Sweater Wolf here, aka Lirin today. So I am are we talking about like us and our lives now?
Yeah, that's why you got a drum roll.
Okay. I thought it was just because we're so happy to be together. I assumed that's what you meant, but then I don't want to be like, this is going on with me. So I'm totally messing up the name of our channel because I actually left my university. A lot has happened in the interim before the sort of like summer break session or whatever we're calling this. But I am now a professional game designer. At Nucleus. You can find us at nucleus.games, although we have absolutely nothing up on the website now. Like, you'll go to it and be like, is this a scam? It's real. We just don't have stuff set up. But yeah, I'm a full-time game designer now and doing some consulting, and it's basically what I want to be doing, and I am like overly jazzed about it. But you know, we were like, is this now going to be like Doc's play or PhD's play? But nothing is as good as Prof's play. And once a prof, always a prof at heart, in mind, body, and spirit. So we will continue to be ProfsPlay, even if I'm totally messing us up.
Can't take that away. No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, so usually we're on the channel playing video games for those of you who have been following us for a little while. However, this summer we are taking a chance on some new content, playing some D&D for the first time together. Now, we have all played D&D separately, 2 different degrees, and we can kind of chat about that a little bit today. But this is the very first time we're doing it together. And for myself, as a game master, this is my very first time ever doing it online. So that's really weird. And then also, obviously, it's our first time ever streaming it together. So it's a whole lot of firsts. And I hope everybody is cool with learning with us as we go. We will, of course, try to make all of this as entertaining as we possibly can. But at the same time, this ain't your average well put together show here. This ain't Matt Mercer in Critical Role. Well, maybe it's like the very early days, right, when everybody's just chilling. So just so y'all know, it is the profs on our. Oh, I can say bullshit now. It is the profs on our bullshit.
Unlike our normal streams, which are always incredibly professional and well put together and thought.
You know what? It's going to be so hard to go back to the fall once we have this summer chaos. I'm just going to say it right now. We might just have to be mature only now.
Happy Pride, everybody! Now,
oh, yeah,
woo woo!
Very exciting. Had to bust this shirt out because it takes care. You hit 2 in 1. All right. So all that being said, I guess I don't know. Do folks want to talk about their prior D&D experience, or just kind of set the tone for who you are as a player before we jump into character, so to speak, for the rest of session? And apologies in advance, chat, but we are gonna have a hard time following along with chat as we get in. So yeah, as we move forward, this might be like a little bit less participative, but hopefully, again, still good fun for everybody. And we're always happy to switch things up as we move forward. No apologies, Sweaterwolf. We love all the content.
I was just typing something about using the social eating tag. So
oh, there's so many new tags. So many. Okay, so. I don't know. I've been playing D&D since the 3.5 edition rule set. And weirdly enough, I went in like the opposite direction of like a lot of like the early D&D folks, in that I started out with computer games. So I started out by getting into games like Baldur's Gate, and then later finding out, whoa, this is like based on, well, I like knew that it was like based on a tabletop system, but I never actually like played it until later on. So I had a very weird like backwards entry into the hobby of D&D. And since then, I have had a lot of fun as a both player and as a game master. But because I just like really, really love storytelling and world building, and this is, I guess, just like a little bit about me as a DM now. I find this role, as much work as it is, right? I find this role to be really, really fun. So I'm not a rules lawyer, nor do I have like an encyclopedic knowledge of like the Forgotten Realms or the D&D multiverse. But it is something that I find a lot of joy in, and hopefully this next couple of weeks will be a good time to share a little bit of that joy with y'all as well. I want to go to Sweaterwolf last because I want to make sure she has all the time.
Yeah, same order.
All the time to choose. So yeah, so let's head back over to Jay. What is your experience?
Hello. So I am almost the complete opposite in that I have very, very limited experiences. Now, those of you who are my students in my class, cover your ears for one moment. Even though I did teach a unit on D&D, I actually really have not played.
Poser? No.
I thought you were going to talk about something else when you said cover your ears.
Yeah,
Did I say that because it's summer session?
No, I can say shit all I want. Yeah. That was some bullshit I was teaching. No.
Oh no, I was referring to something else, but I'll let it rest.
Yes, very good.
That's at the end of the season, the season finale reveal.
That's right, the season finale. So obviously I've read a fair bit. I've been interested. I've been sort of adjacent to a lot of D&D. I'm older, so I remember, the 80s moral panic around D&D. I remember all that kind of stuff when it was sort of fresh. Obviously, D&D has influenced so much of the kinds of role-playing games, that I was playing, JRPGs and other RPG kinds of games on the computer, and the NES and all those kinds. So, some of the core features of D&D have transcended the game itself. I'm familiar-ish with. But I've actually never really played. Prof A and Sweater and I had a couple of very entertaining summer sessions in which we got almost nothing done, thanks to big surprise yours truly. But that's more or less the extent of it. I've watched some stuff on Twitch and and YouTube and a few other things. But I'm almost completely ignorant of the systems, of the kind of play itself. So I'm coming in completely kind of unfamiliar with a lot of this. So I'm both excited to try it and to learn from y'all and stuff like that. And also admittedly a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So we'll see how these next few sessions go. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll once again drop it feather-like down.
Yeah, I mean, I have some experience with D&D, but I am more on the novice end of the spectrum. The first time that I ever played was my partner, whose name is also Jeff. He DM'd a few sessions for us when we were finishing our dissertations. And so, of course, as one does when you're trying to write a dissertation, you also try to just do all the hobbies and things to avoid writing the dissertation. So it was also the year Breath of the Wild came out. So I was like very much just gaming all the time and totally being productive. Don't worry, it got done.
Right.
It got done. So, so I
PhD now, so
exactly. So you can game and be a professor. Don't worry. So I don't even remember my first character, to be honest. I just remember like those sessions were getting me acclimated to like, oh, what is D&D? Like you hang out and then you do some things, you talk to each other. There's like some people can go into like weird character directions, and I'm like, what is happening here? And then just getting used to like what a combat sequence looks like. So that was like basically that first character who I mean, her name was also Kins, which is the character I play in my current Bad Plans campaign. But I really don't know who that Kins character was. She's just someone that I helped me learn how D&D worked. And so I currently play every Wednesday with a group of people. We're only like 14 sessions in, so it's like we just had like a major arc, and like there's still much to explore in this. Like we also have a homebrew type world, but the people I play with are much more experienced with D&D than I am, and I'm playing a druid, so I'm just like at this point like learning all the things still, and I feel like I'm somewhat comfortable with that character at this point after a few months. So yeah, I'm definitely on the novice end, and it's not something that I think I ever would have been interested in playing if I weren't being pestered by my partner to be like, no, like you'll really like it. Like don't think about whatever the perceptions or narratives about it are. Like just try it out. I'm sure you'll like it. Like, cause I know you and I know you'll like it. And he was right. So I'm excited to play with y'all, and I'll pass it to Sweater.
Yeah, I've played a goodly amount of D&D, much like Prof A. I played a ton of video games all my life. I had like the microphone away from me because I'm like, I'm gonna get chips on it. But I played a lot of RPGs and that kind of thing. And then when I went back and played Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, oh, all video games are just ripping off D&D or certainly video games with these kinds of battle systems, right? So and anything kind of RPG adjacent. And it just blew my mind that I had gone my whole life without experiencing that. And it like explained a lot to me in terms of game development and where a lot of ideas came from. And it just went from there. So I also like to GM games. I didn't quite have it in me to volunteer for this one. So I was very happy when Prof A generously stepped up, which I think we should all acknowledge that GMing is a lot more work than being a player. So thank you, Prof A. I don't think we've said that. Thank you so much for doing this. Also, hello to, I see we got a bunch of chatters in. Hello, chatters. And thank you all for the subs and bits and whatnot. And above water, it's really nice to see you over here for some D&D as well. But yeah, so I played a lot of D&D. That's basically my history with it. I also started playing in grad school, though. I never played before 5e. And actually, as you're talking about that wizard, I'm like, are we the same person? Because I was also writing my dissertation when like Breath of the Wild came out, and I was like, it was just this year of like, it was like all I had to keep me going was like D&D and Breath of the Wild and all like the new Switch games. So what a year that was.
Some good stuff.
Yeah, it's real. I mean, you know, we made it through. I will say my undergrad GPA dropped significantly when Dota, like the original Dota on Warcraft 3, when that was like really popular. That took a lot of my life. Maybe that's why I don't play MOBAs anymore, because yeah, it was just tough to balance. But
I wrote my master's thesis about World of Warcraft to justify how much I was playing World of Warcraft. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was
I was doing
Pokemon
fishing
Go.
dailies, being like, "Oh, I'm doing research." Oh, as I'm getting my fishing daily in. Oh yeah, Pokemon Go. Yeah,
so funny.
Hey, look, let your work for you, right? Oh yes.
So listen, so as you all can see, just like a really like wide variety of D&D experience. But just, I guess, a couple of, we're gonna jump into, I guess it's not exactly, we had a session 0 already where we just kind of got to know each other as players, as I got to share a little bit about my DM style. I don't want to like rehash all of that now, just because you'll kind of learn as you go, as viewers, listeners. But it's still, this is like sort of a, I don't know if we're in session 1 yet, but this is like a 0.5, because I think we're still getting to know each other's characters a little bit, as well as kind of getting a sense of my DM style. There were also some things I realized I did not mention during session 0 that I should probably mention at some point. Maybe now, I don't know. But I guess just a couple of quick housekeeping things before we jump in. We will, throughout the summer, try to pay attention to chat, but when we are kind of in it, you know what I'm saying? When we're like in character, we're not even in character, but in game, we're gonna try to do the best we can to just be committed to each other and be present in the moment, in the spirit of like D&D, right? In the spirit of whether it's new school or old school, right? Kind of being present in the moment is like a big part of I guess what people consider to be like good, you know, player etiquette or whatever. So if we are neglectful of chat or not always giving voice or giving thanks, please do not think that we are purposefully ignoring you or not grateful for like all of the love that you are offering and support that you're sharing. Like, we really do appreciate it, but part of like this new experience is also being like committed to it, right? So that is a thing to keep in mind. Also, in terms of rules lawyering, right? In the same way that we run this at our own kind of personal, like in our houses and in our own homebrew games, I reserve all of the rights of like any right DM, so that yes, if you want to point out a weird divergence from like 5e rules, or if I'm like pulling rules from different systems or older versions or whatever, like you can do that in chat, but ultimately I am making a lot of these decisions just kind of in the service of the game and in the service of the experience. I'm pretty, as you'll learn, I'm pretty fast and loose when it comes to the rules, and I invite my players, if they want to push back or correct or offer alternative rule sets or interpretations. I think the important thing ultimately is that we just have consistency throughout. And, you know, as I told Sweater in our session 0, a lot of what I find really fun about GMing is the challenge of working or playing with folks that are experienced at D&D and still trying to find ways to surprise and like delight and kind of instill that sense of wonder. So it's going to be pretty, yeah, like I said, loose and fast. Rules as intended, you know, all about the experience, all about the story. I'm not going to be fighting with chat about the particulars of particular class abilities and things like that. If it's cool, if it works, if it's fair game to me. I'm trying to think of anything else, but that's kind of, those are like the big things that that I'm thinking of. Any other kind of housekeeping things y'all want to add before we get into it?
Nope.
I think we're good. Although props to Crawdaddy holding down. Yeah, certainly. Please chat among yourselves as much as you would like. I'll probably go back and you know, if I watch the VOD, see what folks had to say. I think that would be really fun. So you know, we're watching. I'm just
We're watching now.
Oh my god.
Nice. I'll load the notes.
Whoops,
here.
had my thing muted. Okay, well, all of that having been said, let's get into it. So I'll jump in. I'll tell y'all a little bit about the setting that we are going to be running in. Hint, hint. It's not going to be your traditional Forgotten Realms. I don't know. I'm just not. I guess I've spent so much time in like Western medieval fantasy that like, I hope this doesn't come off as like a knock or like a judgment, but this is just like, for me personally, I'm just kind of over it. So I tend to like homebrew a lot of content, and I draw a lot from like my own kind of personal and like cultural experiences. So you'll see a lot of that as we go through as well. All right, let's. Doesn't this make you feel like you're on top of a mountain?
It really does. I've completed my training, and I'm on top of the mountain.
I love it so much. Okay, everybody. Welcome in. The world is changing. Magic is fading. And with it, the old ways. Outsiders have come to these lands wielding weapons of thunder and smoke. They claim to bring progress, but at what cost? The strength of our dreams is fading. Even the ghosts of our ancestors are silent. Yet not all is lost. There are whispers that a new magic is growing. More and more storytellers in the tea house speak of these wonders. Tales of warriors who soar through the sky like birds. Creatures of living metal rising from the earth. Some even believe the ways of the ancients are waiting to be reborn. It is into this age of storms that our three heroes have been thrust. Will they be the ones to preserve the old magic in a new age of machines? Will they seek to restore harmony in a time of growing chaos? Or will they seize the opportunity to gain power untold? Welcome, everybody, to the Age of Storms. You can think of this as sort of a big mashup between wuxia, martial arts, fantasy, and the classic steampunk genre that you might be acquainted with in campaigns like Eberron and stories from other systems. The term that author Ken Liu uses to describe this kind of immersion genre of fantasy is silk punk, right? Silk drawing its roots from the sort of cultural mythologies of Eastern and Southeast Asian experiences. And then, of course, the punk of it drawing largely from the steampunk ethos. So if you can imagine a steampunk setting where Victorian England is not the historical basis, but instead Imperial China, you get kind of a sense, right, of the setting that we are rolling in. We've got a couple of awesome heroes that need to introduce themselves. So we can jump into that, or we can learn more about let's do that. Yeah, let's hear from y'all, and then let's talk a little bit about the world that we are living in.
Prof A, could we? Oh, sorry, I was going to say the music volume, but I see you've cut it. So I don't know how the rest of you felt, but it was a little, I think a little loud versus your voice.
How's that?
Awesome. Or do you think is that loud enough? What do you all think? It's kind of super quiet.
We discovered that it will probably cut out as the rest of us talk. It seems
okay,
like mute Prof A's channel while we're talking, but that's cool.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I'm loath to interrupt that awesome intro, but I want to make sure people can hear the awesomeness.
No worries. As you see, well, we're gonna bounce in and out, right, of character, and that's just this is part of how we roll. Yeah. So I don't know. I want to know more. I mean, we talked a little bit, right? And I have your character sheets, but I just want to know more about each of our heroes. And so if you all would just want to give a little overview of who you are and what you're doing here, I'm probably gonna have some questions as a DM, and then, as I have done before, we might even play through some of the scenarios that you have told us about in your past. So, Lirin, do you want to start us off being the more experienced player here?
Yeah. So Lirin is from a village of Dragonborn, and he himself is a Dragonborn. And so the way I conceived of this is in Vietnamese culture, dragons are very benevolent. They come from the water. The origin myth of Vietnamese people is actually that they are all children of dragons, the children of a dragon and a fairy. And that's like the origin of the peoples. And so, I don't know if we've brought this up in the world building yet, but the residents of this world believe that they are descended from the gods, right? So the Dragonborn believe very literally that they are descended from dragon gods. And so they practice magic, but they mostly practice healing. They are masters of water. They're masters of things that people need to survive, essentially. And they have very strong sort of healing medicine that the new people that are moving in with all of their machines and their gunpowder, well, maybe not gunpowder, but their machines of fire and steel do not super approve of. And so he has been training to practice this medicine, which in his case does mean paying tribute to the ancestor god. So he is actually a cleric. And he is at least starting out as a cleric. So mechanically, we're going to play around with that a little bit. But that is the core of my character, or the basics.
Love it. I have further questions, but I will wait. Oh, by the way, just as a quick world building GM point of order, the world that we're in, all of what Lirin said is literally true. Like we are literally descendants of the gods, but we'll learn more about that.
And can I just say too, aesthetically, the dragons in this universe are like East Asian dragons. So imagine a dragonborn that looks like that when you're visualizing this.
Yeah, very, very serpentine, right? As Sorish. Yeah, cool. Very cool. Tamari, I love your name, by the way.
Me? I feel like my character, well, I don't know. I guess I could make the connection to our other friend because I feel like I'm not the main right here. Okay, so Tamari is a Swift. Well, I feel like the relationship makes sense because it's connected to this story up here. Tamari is a Swift Stride Ranger. So she's a shifter. Her characteristics when she shifts are feline in nature. So I envision her as she's young, but she's like on her journey to becoming her own person and finding confidence in herself. And so part of her when she uses her shifting is to kind of like figure out and harness that strength that she has within that sometimes she grapples with self-doubt. And so that's like for her, or for the way I'm envisioning her, is how she's going to develop over the course of whatever comes this way. In terms of how she's connected to this world, there's actually a connection with Loon. Is that your name? Loon.
Mhm.
Loon's son, who I don't actually know your son's name yet, but I do. Tamari knows. Lynette doesn't quite know. Lynette will write it down in a second. But very close friends with Loon's son, who was lost, and I'll let you tell more of that story. And part of her coming to terms with whatever she's grappling with is because he's gone, she feels some sort of responsibility and to honor the friendship that they had, and what she thinks is right in this particular world with the conflicts that are going on. Yeah, I think that there's more, but I'm not sure what to say at this point. But that's like primarily in terms of character stuff, that she has this drive to become her own on her own.
We can jump back and forth, Loon, if you want to give us kind of the overview, and then Tamari, if you want to, feel free to interject.
Sure, absolutely.
Essentially.
Mm-hmm. So I will be playing Tenju Loon. He is older. He's in his middle 50s. He has been a farmer on sort of ancestral land, and had never really sort of believed in the way, the sort of spiritual sort of stories that were told. Just said, we need to make do with what we have. And as the sort of the invaders, the barbarians kind of from the north have been increasingly taking over land and taking over power in the nation and stuff, I've come to see that, the way to survive is to sort of adapt to it and just deal with them and, sell my goods and just continue the way that we've been going, kind of. And I had a son named Yari, Tenju Yari, and he believed very deeply. He believed the stories that were told in the tea houses about the way and the power and where it's leading us to the new age. And we disagreed on that. And he said, to me all the time that we've strayed from the way and we should get back to it. And we never agreed on those things. And when he was conscripted into the army by the invading forces and stuff to quell a rebellion somewhere and was killed, I decided to honor his memory and seek out what the way meant, and maybe to listen to what he was trying to tell me. And so that led me to sort of where we're going to pick up, I think.
Tamari also views Loon as a father figure, so yes, dad hype.
That hype, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's hard. You play what you know, I guess. So. And by the way, 53 sounded really old, but actually it's not for me. I'm not that far away from it. So all right.
I love it. So we've thrown a couple of terms out there that may not be as well. Obviously, not going to be familiar to people at all that aren't familiar with the homebrew setting. So maybe why don't we talk a little bit about that? And I think it's totally fine. What I can do, let me see. What does this look like on Streamlabs? Is this okay? I mean, could be worse. Could be worse. Just to give folks a little bit of a visual. So our heroes find themselves. They are inhabitants, native inhabitants of the land of Wu'Xian, which translates into common as the Dawnlands. It was once known in ages past for its mythical creatures, monastic heroes, and its deep connection to the spirit realm. Legends continue to be told of graceful warriors who soar through the sky, priestesses who once channeled the magic of dragons, and monks who hunted the demonic spirits that plagued the lands. And as these myths have faded over time, so too have those who deeply believed in them, right? And you can see a little bit of that, right, in Loon and Tamari's story and their relationship with Loon's son, and ultimately his mother. as a new age dawns, so too do whispers of new legends begin to take root in the tea houses and across the fishing villages. And soon, it is said, soon new heroes will rise to take their place among the legends of old. A little bit of connection to Lirin's lineage. For folks that are wondering, the sages of the land, the sages of Wu'Xian, teach us that the world was formed from the magic of the five ancients, right? Five mystical dragons who wielded the powers of wood, water, fire, metal, and earth, the five kind of world-shaping elements. And they were aided by a variety of animal spirits, the rat, the pig, the snake, the tiger, the buffalo, the goat, and the monkey. So too, at every turn, were they challenged by demonic spirits who sought to poison all of creation, and who continue to work toward those ends. Now I'm still learning Roll20, as you can see here. I can just throw up a quick map. People love maps, right? So the first age of the known world, right? The known world of Wu'Xian. Sorry, my phone is going off. Good thing I didn't put the GLaDOS notifications on here.
Oh my gosh.
So the first age of, so we are in the, well, there's debate among the scholars, but people are calling this the beginning of the third age, right? The first age of this world was known to the scholars as the Age of Calamity. This was characterized by epic battles waged between the forces of creation and the forces of corruption, as well as the heroes who arose from among the people to aid the ancients and their animal spirits. Those fierce struggles tore up the earth, right? The legends say, and shook the mountains to their foundations, leading to this landscape as we see it today. The people of the land comprise a variety of humanoid species, if you are familiar with the different kinds of species you can play in D&D. But this is really important. Despite the diverse appearances and abilities of these different peoples, there is almost universal recognition among the inhabitants of Wu'Xian that all people are the children of the creators, right? Again, think back to that pantheon and the variety of creatures that was represented there. And so while there are regional variations on specific practices, the Wu'Xian Dao, which is the demonym for the people, right? Dao in this language means people. So Wu'Xian Dao literally means the people of the Dawnlands. They generally share a social, cultural, and spiritual belief system called the Way, characterized by ancestral worship practices, a very kind of familial relationship with the natural world, and a sense of loyalty to those who have made one's life possible. So if you're not familiar with this concept, in the Wu'Xian language, it's known as Otang, which literally translates into inner debt, right? And so when people feel Otang toward one another, it is a debt they almost have to act on, right? It's almost this irresistible kind of urge, like within them, to fulfill the debt to the people who made their life possible. I have a couple of backstory questions that I feel might actually be more appropriate if we played through them. So Lirin, I'm wondering what was your training like under your parents? What was it like to first learn your abilities?
Well, it took a little longer than expected from the family. So my father was one of the most talented healers of his generation, and it was a lot of expectation on me when I was younger. And this is something that we see, even though it comes from worshiping our ancestors and worshiping the dragon gods that we come from. It's something that's expected to come very early and very naturally. And I didn't get it until I was still a child, but considered a late bloomer. And it was always something that I had to work very, very hard at in order to do. But it's also something that I knew right away the very first time that I was able to heal somebody that it's what I was meant to do, and it's what I felt my connection to the way through doing that, and I never looked back from then.
Ooh, love it, love it. I wanna take us back to one of those moments, to maybe your last training session with it was your father, you said, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's go to that temple, right? In your mind's eye. I'm very theater of the mind generally, although I do love a tactical game, right? As a DM, I'm very theater of the mind. Is the music too loud, or is this okay?
Sounds perfect to me.
That's good.
Cool. So you find yourself, Lirin, back in your reliving this memory of one of your final training sessions with your father. He walks up to you a bit imposing, and among the other Dragonborn, he is considered to be fairly well built and fairly tall for his kind. As he towers over you, he gazes downward, and you get a glimpse of what most of the people of Wu'Xian do not get to see. His deep care and admiration for those he loves. He's always had to put on this gruff exterior to others, or he's always felt that. But to you, you experience him very differently, and he speaks to you and he asks, Lirin, this is our final session. Tomorrow you will go to ceremony. You will part rivers with our bond, and you will be an adult. Do you remember the greeting I first taught you? How the people of our land acknowledge the 5 elements.
I do.
Can you show me, Lirin?
Yes, and Lirin goes into this sort of it's a very graceful sort of maneuver. I think this particular Dragonborn people move in an extremely graceful way, and he does this sort of water-like movement with his hands, and as he does so, a little bit of water actually, like a little sphere, manifests in one of his hands, and he says, "From water, all is born."
Lirin's father looks down and smiles, mimicking the gesture. Lirin's father raises his hand, sweeps it across his body, raises it up to the sky, and lowers it down toward his fist. He responds in the way of the people, and through the elements, life continues. He bows.
And Lirin bows as well.
Show me that new spell. You've spent so much time studying among the scribes. How is it that your magic manifests?
And Lirin says, "Yes, I think that I don't know if it looks as good as when you do it, Father. I know you've told me to not try and live up to that, but I want to be able to heal in the ways that you do, and heal the things that nobody thought could be healed. And I know you say I'm ready, and I'm trying to believe that." And Lirin just kind of like shakes his head and is like, "No, I'm so sorry, Father. You have to understand, I'm quite nervous with the ceremony tomorrow." And you see him starting to get like a little sweat, like a little like I know you've said this before, but you do think I'm ready, Father.
Lirin's father holds up his hand, gesturing for Lirin to slow down. He reaches out, touches him on the shoulder, and says, "You are ready." With his other hand, he gestures, and a servant across the temple opens a chamber. What would you like to do?
I am going to go through the door into the chamber.
All right. Nervously, but trying to push down the nerves, you saunter over to the door and peek through, and inside you see a familiar sight, the infirmary, where you have been training with the scribes and scholars and priests. Except in this case, the infirmary is full. And it's the first time you've ever seen the infirmary full. Bodies strewn across cots, blankets on the floor. Servants rush around with towels, soaked in blood. And your father walks you to one of the people laying. A human. You can see there is a large gash straight across the chest, and you wonder, because you have not seen a weapon that is able to inflict damage in that way, you wonder how this came to pass. That question fades quickly, and you get to work preparing your healing spell. What does that look like? What does it look like for you when you cast magic?
So Lirin is going to look at this wound and observe it for a few moments, and then he closes his eyes and begins to sort of raise his taloned hands, and water begins to flow in between those hands, and it begins to glow with an aura. And he slowly, gently lowers his hands, and you can actually hear the rushing of the water as it is going between them. And he lowers, and once the aura with the water makes contact with his wound, the area around the wound begins to glow as well. And the wound itself, you can see through the transparency of the water, begins to close as this glowing aura starts to encircle it.
As the aura envelops the wound, those standing around turn to look, for it has been many years since they have seen a practitioner of the way so skilled and so elegant with their arts. In fact, some in the room have begun to doubt that the strength of the way still has the power to heal. But in this moment, all doubts are quelled. They turn to you. They turn to your father, who then gestures outward. He is ready.
Lirin bows reverently toward his father.
And in that moment, your mind returns to the present. As you find yourself outside the city gates of what appears as a fortress, the city of Ma Gao. Loon, I want to, and thank you for that, by the way.
Thank you.
I want to ask about your son and what it was like when you found his body on the battlefield. You don't remember deciding to run. You don't remember what it was that caused you to push open the door of your house and begin sprinting to the nearest field where you know your son had been sent into battle. You have no idea to this day what it was that moved you, but something sent you out there.
Ari, in real life, a child was busting in. So very apropos. It was the exact opposite of that. They're coming in and not leaving.
Ed, what was that last conversation like that you had with your son?
We had argued the same argument we'd had you know, 100 times before. And I remember the day. It was much colder than it should have been. It was summer, and the sun was out, and yet it was cold, almost chilling to the bone and things. And I was working the lands and the fields, and he came to me and once again said that you know, we had lost our way and the way. And I remember telling him for the 100th time that we wouldn't have that argument anymore, and yet every time we had that same argument. And he said to me then that it may be the last time, because he had been conscripted, and he was leaving that evening.
As you recall, as you think through this memory, all of a sudden, your consciousness snaps back into the present, and you look before you, and you see a massacre. You see devastation across this field as far as the eye can see. Bodies strewn all across the ground, weapons broken, arrows fired in houses. Structures burning, and you see no one left standing. What would you like to do?
I'd like to find my son. I'd like to see where he was and where he left. So I start working my way through the bodies and the burning and the pillage and the death and things, flipping over, you know, the bodies that are strewn all around me, blood soaking into my hands and my arms. And I remember looking at my hands with just blood pouring down them, down to the elbows, as I moved body after body, desperately searching for my son.
Okay. The bodies are completely covered in weapon marks and burns and cauterized scars that you wonder, again, given the weaponry that you are familiar with and that you have had available to you your entire life, you wonder how these marks could have been made. And it's difficult for you to make out the features of the bodies. Can you give me a roll for perception? So D20 plus, or D20 with your wisdom modifier.
All right, so that's a +3 modifier. I'm physically rolling here because it's the one thing I really want to do. A 13, so +3, so 16.
Okay. So with a 16, you recognize that the bodies you have been looking at are among your son's friends. These are the men and women that went with him into this battle, and yet your son is still not to be found. There seems to be among the bodies a few paths in front of you. You can move to the east, to the west, or to the north. What would you like to do?
The clearest path seems to be to the north. The almost as if something has been taken from, dragged or pulled or stumbled out of that in that direction, and maybe he's that way.
As you make your way forward, the smell of burning flesh begins to overwhelm you. You're not sure if you're going to be able to continue. Can you give me a D20 roll with your Constitution modifier?
So that's a +1 modifier. So it's a 4 + 1, so 5.
As you take a few steps forward and you collapse into yourself and you just retch all over the grass. It takes you a moment to compose yourself, but you begin moving forward again. And then not 10 feet in front of you, you see the cloak that you gave your son. It is attached to a body. What would you like to do?
I go in for a closer look. I turn its face. The body's facing down, so I turn turn the body over. And they're unmistakable, despite all the horror that's been done to him, is my son.
As you lie and look at his eyes, you see the passion has not left them. The fire still burns in them, even though the life inside has been snuffed out. And as you take in the sight, all of a sudden, an arrow comes flying by your head and lands in the ground. Tamari, you are in this memory also. You are here at this field for a very similar reason, to find Loon's son, except you're pulled here with a different purpose. As a practitioner of the way, you understand that the ceremonial burial is an incredibly important part of what it means for any person to pass into the world beyond. And so as you stare out onto the field, you see Loon out in the middle. You see him crouched down over a body, and in the wind, you see the fluttering of a cloak, the cloak that you know was gifted by him to his son. You see the arrow fly by Loon and land in the ground. Next to him, you are about 50 feet away. What would you like to do?
I see the direction or like an individual who might have shot the. I would like to scan to see if I can see the person who shot the arrow.
Yeah. So there's the dust from the battle is still settling, but you pause for a moment. You focus in and draw on the training that you've received to this day, and you do the best you can to try and trace the route of the arrow. Go ahead, please, and also roll a perception check.
Okay. Oh, did it roll? I rolled a 6.
With a 6, you cannot see where the first arrow came from. But as you scan, a volley of arrows flies through the air and is now heading in your direction. As you were scanning, you were still in this meditative state. So you can make a decision as to how you want to react here. What would you like to do?
I'm going to... I'm gonna shift as a bonus action. Can I do that? And go into my more beast form.
What is your beast form, by the way? On what animal does that draw?
Yeah, so it draws on. I want to say like. So feline, so like cat, but like panther, because she's also like pretty stealthy. And so it takes those sort of like my face changes. It kind of like shifts in like a panther type appearance.
Love it. So again, you focus your energy, except now in a different direction. Rather than focusing your energy outward, you focus it inward, and you feel your heart rate begin to increase. You feel the rest of your body and your senses begin to attune, and it's almost like the world around you seems to slow down. The rest of people who might be able to see you as being able to move more quickly, but to you, they're slow as molasses. You feel your muscles bulge and your teeth sharpening, and you are shifted. As you complete your shift, 3 arrows land in the ground next to you, and you realize the other 3 are not far away. Please go ahead and give me a dexterity check. You D20.
Oh, yeah.
Fire.
21.
21. Is it a nat 20 or that was better?
No. That's what the modifier.
Got it. Okay. So with a 21, the arrows themselves seem to be moving in slow motion. You raise your hand, which now actually has much more of a claw-like appearance. And in one swift move, you step to the side, brush your hand gracefully through the air, knocking each of those 3 arrows harmlessly to the side. As you do so, you look out and you see the exact direction these arrows were shot from, behind a tree in the western direction, about 30 feet away. What would you like to do?
Oh, dear. I'm going to take my longbow and aim in that direction.
All right. Go ahead. You can roll your hit and damage, and then if it hits, we'll let you know.
Okay, I'll just do it 2 separate. So 14 to hit.
14 hits.
5 piercing damage.
5 piercing damage. All right. So without even thinking, you turn, you aim, and you fire your bow in the direction that the arrows came from. As the arrow flies, it hits true to its mark, and all of a sudden you hear a scream from the area of the tree, and out of that steps a large, almost hulking individual. He turns to you, points his sword, and says, "Her. She's the one I want." Loon and Tamari, go ahead and roll for initiative.
Hell yeah.
What was that?
Just your D20 and
the modifier.
Yeah, D20.
Yeah, the modifier is under your initiative on the sheet.
Gotcha. A 13 plus 2, so 15.
I had a 9.
Okay, and I am a 10. Cool. In the middle of all of this, Lirin enters the memory, having been sent to the field on a healing mission. You've observed everything that has gone on so far, including Tamari's transformation. And you see that 3 men behind the tree have drawn swords. What would you like to do? You are about 20 feet away.
Sorry, I'm muted. I am going to go intervene, seeing these people. They're aware that these people are attacking them. These are the people that they see.
Everyone's aware of each other. No one's aware of you.
Okay. I am going to just like walk on up. I think this is probably a little after we saw Lirin before in his childhood, and he's pretty big now. He's gotten pretty large, and he's just gonna kind of join in his armor clinking loudly. No chance of subtlety whatsoever.
Okay, then I would like an initiative roll from you as well, please.
I shall do that. That virtual tabletop not found. That is a 6.
6. Do you mind if I do all 3 of these individuals on the same initiative roll, or do you want them on separate initiative rolls?
I think on the same is fine.
Okay. All right, Jay. 3 individuals. At this point, you heard the scream as well, and so you turn. There are 3 cloaked individuals pointing swords at you. They are about 30 feet away from you. The combat action is yours. What would you like to do?
I do have a long bow. I have a bow, so I'm going to I'm going to take a shot at the nearest one, and attempt to dissuade them with hopefully a good shot at them.
All right, go ahead and roll your d20 to hit, and then your damage.
Okay. So d20 was a 10, and then let's see, it's an 8-sided die. So it's a 8 plus 2 is the longbow. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. That's a 6 plus 2, so 8.
Ooh. Okay. Well, a 10 hits. So you draw your longbow again without thinking. I mean, you may be high up in years, but that also means you're high up in experience, right? You're not some greenhorn who's gone hunting for the first time. And so drawing on the instincts that you have used to provide for your family your entire life, you fire at the nearest assailant, and he crumples to the ground, clutching the area where your arrow hit. In a few moments, he is no longer moving.
Yay.
Take that.
All right. At this moment, the second assailant, the one who does not have Tamari's arrow stuck in him, turns to Tamari, charges her, and swings his sword fairly wildly. What is your... Oh, well, I'm going to make some assumptions here, but I'm going to say, what's your...
What did you say? What did you roll?
I rolled a 7.
A 7?
7 to hit.
Yeah, no, that does not hit.
So
I was thinking the other direction. I was like, oh man, I'm like destroyed.
Yeah, no, swinging wildly, but with your cat-like reflexes, it is almost like a training exercise or a game. You dodge the first strike, the second strike, the third strike, and you shove him away harmlessly. You take no damage this round.
Does that character end its turn within 5 feet of me?
It does.
I would like to use my reaction to move 10 feet away from where that was.
Okay. You are now 15 feet total away from this skirmish. The person looking a little embarrassed, but nevertheless fairly enraged in this moment. The final assailant uses their action to pull the arrow out of themselves, and then they take a potion out of their pack, smash it against the ground, and all of a sudden, sort of a colored mist begins to rise up out of where the bottle broke. Lirin, it is to you. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Not to you. It is to Tamari. Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, what?
The JSA now Tamari.
I got distracted. I'm so into it right now. Okay, I'm gonna.
I love it.
I'm gonna use my longbow to attack the guy
All
that
right.
pulled the arrow out.
15. Yeah, you should be fine. Go ahead. Oh, the guy that's pulling the arrow out.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your.
Well, that's the furthest one away from me, right? Or no?
He is currently the furthest one away from you.
Yeah. All right. That is 17 to hit with 9 piercing damage.
Ooh, 17 definitely hits. Your arrow once again flies true. Strangely enough, as you observe the scene, you see this colored mist, this blue colored mist that's rising out of the ground. And as the mist rises, the initial shot from your first arrow begins to close up. But as it closes up, your second arrow hits, and it hits so powerfully. This individual is knocked off their feet, goes flying backwards, and lands on the ground. In a few moments, they are not moving. Now, Lirin, it is to you. There is one assailant left.
I am going to I'm gonna try and get rid of him. I am going to cast Guiding Bolt in the general direction of the one remaining assailant.
Okay, and what does that look like when you cast your guiding bolt in that direction?
It looks a lot like when Lirin begins to cast his healing magic. He raises both of his sort of talons, and light begins to arc between them. But instead of the calming sounds of water that precedes his healing, there is a sort of crackling noise, almost like electricity. And he raises one hand back and then throws it like it's a physical object directly at the assailant. And that is a, let's see, that is a 13.
13 hits.
Excellent. And that is, a 13 damage.
Ooh.
I know, yeah, I wasn't expecting it. Lirin's a little surprised at the force of this ball of light he's just thrown. Yeah.
No, you are. In fact, this bolt that flies out of your hand, you happen to be a little bit shocked about the fact that this came out of you. So too is your assailant, and in the very moment that he sees this electricity gathering around you, he begins to turn and run, and so your spell just smashes him squarely in the back. He goes flying, like arched back into a tree, almost like cartoonish, where he splats onto it, slides down slowly. The body twitches for a few moments as the electricity dissipates, and in another few moments, the body is no longer moving. Each of you look up, take stock of the scene, and see one another. What would you like to do?
Tamari's going to head over to Loon, who I imagine is still near Yari's body.
Lirin is going to approach these strangers and ask them, are you hurt? Are you in need of assistance?
No, thank you.
I see that you are you looking for and Lirin kind of sees like the body of your son, and even without the context of knowing kind of like who you were looking for or why this is relevant, I think kind of gets the sense that you've maybe lost somebody just from kind of maybe the way you're kind of carrying yourself, Loon, and says, I'm sorry, I have lost many friends as well.
And Loon is almost catatonic and staring off and filled with not rage at the loss of his son, but regret, and says almost like in another voice that there are things you can't heal. I told him that water always flows around the rock that's put in its way, and yet here he lies.
I am sorry, my friend. And Lirin goes and reaches kind of like into his bag and pulls out a flask of fresh water and says, I think you need to drink, my friend. I think you might be experiencing a bit of shock right now. And he's kind of like automatically going into almost like monitoring mode, like trying to make sure that this person that clearly has kind of suffered something is like okay. And he also looks at Tamari and says, are you well? Also, actually, how old is Tamari at this point?
Loon, how old is your son? I want to say we're around the same age.
He was 21,
Okay.
Yeah,
So they're
good
adults, young adults. Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, I'm okay. There might be more of them. We need to get out of here.
Yes, we should leave as quickly as possible.
All right.
So I'll head over to the body and try to prepare it.
Not long after this moment in the past, you are indeed able to provide a ceremonial burial for Loon's son. And at this point, in the present time, the three of you find yourselves standing at the gates of Ma Gao, which literally translates into the Northern Shadow. So just a couple of quick setting notes for folks. So if you recall, actually, you don't have to recall. Awesome job, everyone, by the way, on that. You don't need to recall because we can share. Share screen. I saw somebody ask about a battle map too. I do love a good battle map, but like I said, I also do love a good theater of the mind. So, all right, hold up. All right, cool. So here is the map of Wu'Xian, and so in the upper right hand corner. Oh wait, why am I narrating this? I can put a thing down, right? That's how it works. I can actually.
Can you do like a browser? Sorry, not to backseat roll 20. Could you do like a browser zoom to like make a little bigger, like a control? Yeah.
Yeah. How's that? Okay. So here is I've never heard of backseat roll 20. I love it. That's great. That's amazing. All right, so here is the land of Wu'Xian. You can see this wide desert in the north is part of the reason why the people of Wu'Xian have not ventured too much further. This is the known world that they have experienced, and this is the world as they know it. So we're looking at a very large city that is like thereabouts, if that makes sense. And so this was a city that was that had existed, right, as a smaller village, and was recently taken over by invaders from the northern lands, lands that the people of Wu'Xian had no idea even existed. So here's a quick historical note for folks. Wu'Xian sages say that the Age of Prosperity, this is the second age that came after the Age of Calamity. Wu'Xian sages say that the Age of Prosperity is coming to an end. After hundreds of years of relative peace in the region, invaders have come from the north. They have begun to build settlements and outposts, including the huge port city of Ma Gao, which literally translates into the Northern Shadow. By the way, this is not what the Northerners call their city. This is what the Wu'Xian Bao call the city. The outsiders take and take from the land, as the sages say, endlessly consuming waters, trees, and creatures to expand their settlements. Armed resistance by the people of Wu'Xian has actually been fairly futile. All standing armies were disbanded during the Second Age, the Age of Prosperity, and Wu'Xian villages and cities have chosen peaceful coexistence over conquest, right? So almost like a very anarchic city organized, but not a nation state, so to speak of. Some say it's only a matter of time before the Northerners will sweep across the land, and the people will be faced with a difficult choice. And this is part of the reason why the most recent scholars have been terming this as the Age of Storms. So within the city itself, within the walls of Ma Gao, and in fact, we've got a little bit of a visual reference, if I can find it. Oh, that's why I've got to zoom out, and then I've got to find this little thing. We can zoom in. So within the city walls of Ma Gao, a tense and uneasy peace exists between outsiders and the native peoples of Wu'Xian, who co-inhabit the port city. While the northern settlers have brought with them wondrous technologies of steam and lightning, and yes, also gunpowder, that rival the magics of the Wei, they have also used these technologies to subjugate the Wu'Xian Dao in various ways, even pressing them into positions of servitude. As relatively few among the Wu'Xian Dao are practitioners of the ancient magics, present company excluded, they rely on their ingenuity, their martial prowess, and the perceived novelty of their cultural goods to make their way in the city. And so mistrust, misunderstanding, mistreatment are typically the cause for violent outbreaks in the city, which are generally quelled by authorities who have the interests of the northern invaders at heart. And so within the walls of the city, visitors from the north, wanderers from the lands of Wu'Xian, and even travelers who have come from beyond the Great Sea often come to Ma Gao to seek their fortune, where it is said that there is something for everyone, if you know where to look. And so one of the things I'm wondering about as you approach these city walls is what was it that brought you all here in the first place? And if you have shared reasons, that's phenomenal. But if you have individual reasons, I'm curious.
The magics of old, the healing magics that Lirin's people have been practicing are not something that the invaders like. The invaders have their modern science and healing, which is things like putting leeches on people and poking at them with various metal objects, not super fantastic survival rate, but it's science and it is their way. And as a result of that, they have banned all of the magic of Lirin's people and all of his traditional practices in his village. And what many of his brethren have done, if they haven't been drafted into the war to fight for these invaders in a war that they do not want to participate in, many of them have sought work in the city. His people are all very physically strong and physically intimidating. So many of them have sought work as guards or doing labor on things like all of the hauling and sort of physical things that need to be done with all of these machines that the invaders have brought. I think Lirin has come to the city kind of seeing what has happened to some of the other, especially males in his village, and has come to seek employment as a guard. In order to hopefully not be part of that draft. And at the same time, rumors say that there is a dragonborn healer who, if you are in sort of the right whisper networks, might be able to cure you of diseases that the science of the invaders and their sort of ways are not able to cure.
Great. Love it. Oh, we can do a lot with that. That's awesome. That's amazing. What about you, Loon and Tamari? You all decided to travel here together, so we'll talk about that in a second. But what brings each of you here?
Yari had spoken of a traveling tale teller who knew of ways to connect back to our beliefs and our sort of ancestral powers, who had taken up residing and visiting a local sort of establishment. And so I decided to seek this tale teller out to find out what I could find out, not only about what it was that we had been missing, but what it was that my son had died believing so strongly and so passionately.
Very cool.
And Tamari's here also because of, Loon was set out to, go. I mean, he's strong and all, but having someone also alongside to help out, especially because Yari was such a good friend of hers, and Tamari actually didn't want Yari to go fight, and so part of what she's trying to do is, you know, continue on and, you know, finish whatever untied threads are still lingering of what Yari was set out to do, and helping Loon along the way.
Okay, thank you. The three of you have been traveling together for some time now. What's that been like? What's the dynamic between everybody at this point in the game, in this story?
I don't want to project too much. I feel like Loon would be a bit of a dad of the group. Just because Tamari already feels that way about him. And I think one of the things about Lirin is, I think that having accepted his role as healer in his village, he thinks he's very adult. And he's pretty, you know, I don't remember how long Dragonborn live for, but, you know, scaling for human years, you know, he's maybe like 23, right? He's pretty young. He's not much older than Tamari, but he thinks he's very adult due to some of the expectations that have been put on him and things like kind of in between. You know, he's very like, you know, I'm world weary and I've seen it all. And I think somebody like Loon's age that, you know, has lived more years and had a son that was younger would maybe see through that a little bit. But again, I don't want to impose or project too much on Loon. So, you know, I don't know how you would feel about this weird sort of dragon doctor that insists he, you know, has the soul of a 60-year-old man inside of him.
Yes. What are your thoughts, Loon? Oftentimes, as you all know, right, different people experience the same situation in very different ways. What is Loon's perspective on all this?
I've known Tamari since she was born, and have watched her grow into a strong and capable, you know, young woman who was friends with not only my son but with, you know, the whole village around us, and was always known as a helper. So our relationship is strong in the sense that I know her well, but strained only because I'm grieving. You know, I'm not really willing to talk about you know, where I'm sort of headed or what I'm thinking about, other than that this is what I need to do. And Lirin perhaps reads the situation correctly, in which I can see through the almost arrogance in thinking that you're an old soul and know much of the world. Though you know, as a farmer, I have not traveled much as well, but I've seen people you know, come through the village, and I've dealt with people, you know, for years, and so I feel like I know them and appreciate what Lirin has done to help us, but also recognize that that he has a long way to go.
And I have a question for the GM. I don't know if we've established this as like how common shifters are in the world. Like Tamari, like, is that something that is like mega rare? Or is it something like, how common do you think they are?
Yeah, so actually the two of you as wielders of the very raw, right, magic as the most raw manifestation of the way, right, drawing on the energies from the world beyond, the two of you are actually exceedingly rare. So not only is there very low probability of people ever encountering people of the general citizenry, right, of Wu'Xian ever encountering anybody with the kinds of powers that the two of you have. The fact that you have also met one another and are traveling together is also an exceedingly rare occurrence. There was a time, right, during the age of calamity where magic was fairly commonplace, and in fact that is a lot of the way that initial civilization of Wu'Xian was built. But these days, it is fading in many ways. People are relying much, much more on manual labor to feed themselves and maintain their villages and communities, and even drawing on the technologies and practices of the Northerners that are slowly being introduced into the culture. It's a great one.
Yeah, I imagine we would maybe have some kind of kinship on that level, and I imagine too, like, so I don't remember was there a feline god of old? Was there like a tiger or some kind of like feline thing that Tamari might resemble?
So in the creation stories tell of the 5 dragons, right? And each of the 5 dragons were aided by a number of different creatures, one of them being the tiger.
So I think I think as a cleric for sort of the old dragon gods, I think that Lirin would sort of have a reverence for certainly for tigers and felines, and would sort of maybe I don't know if it'd be obnoxious to Tamari or not, would kind of be like, wow, you have these awesome tiger ancestors, like, do you worship them, like, what are your spiritual practices like, because he is a healer, but also a man of faith, who I think would be encouraging Tamari to kind of draw on that if she hasn't already. But I don't know what her relationship to her sort of if she as a practitioner of the old ways, how much she kind of goes with the old religions of our land.
Yeah, and I can tell you specifically. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Tamar. But just super quick, the tiger was one of the serving spirits of the wood dragon. So if you knew that, so not as connected to your lineage as coming from the water dragon, but still, right, a servant of the wood dragon is still considered to be very, very sacred within the pantheon. Sorry, Tamari, I cut you off. There's
no problem.
A lot of projection on you, so I'm curious. As a GM, but what's your take on this whole situation?
Yeah, so what I mentioned earlier about Tamari not wanting Yari to go fight is actually private. It's not that the others don't know this, she hasn't revealed it. It's just like buried in her soul.
We can do this.
Oh,
what? Do you want to tell us and not Loon and Lirin?
This is just internal monologue of like part of what she's dealing with and part of, so she's kind of not standoffish to Loon, but like distance because, respect and dealing with things. He clearly doesn't want to talk about it. She also doesn't want to talk about it, but in a different way, where she keeps replaying the scene in her mind of the last moment before he set off and left, and wishing that so she keeps thinking about that in the back of her head. So yeah, distance with Lynn, like here to comfort, but not like super BFFs right now. What are you doing?
I could still hear your audio, so I was trying to like take my. So I don't know if we were not supposed to hear that.
Work
so.
I just smoothed
I
was like, "What is this?"
So I just
okay.
Took
So now I transitioned back. It was just general. And then Tamari thinks Lirin is so cool, like just like super cool. Not in the sense of like the rarity aspect of it, but also just it. I think that Tamari views Lirin as a person who's confidently themselves, like relative to her, like how Tamari sees herself. And so she finds that pretty inspiring. The other thing about Tamari is that, so Loon would know this, I think, most because we had that existing relationship is that Tamari, for the most part, kind of stayed under the radar. So yes, she has this connection, but is still pretty new to like embracing to use it outwardly. So that is also part of this traveling with the three of us together is giving her more confidence to shift her shape. And actually, I don't know how long we've been traveling together, but over time, I think that y'all would probably visibly notice that her shifting form is starting to shift, I guess, a little. Cool. So initially it would just be like black, straight, like cat type things, but now you're starting to see some silvery stripes come in to play as she shifts.
That is so cool. I dig that so much.
Yeah, the admiration.
Yeah, the admiration is coming in.
Yeah, I think Tamari's like ability to shift was so kind of well hidden that even though I'd known her in my whole life, it was still something I was only a rumor in the village that was the power was there and had been always sort of in the land and protecting us, but no one had ever really seen it manifest in that way. So it was sort of new to me the first time she shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Oh, also, sorry, this is another thing that I probably should have asked about before. But since we're here, so it's really great to learn about everybody's characters and backstories and the reasons why you're traveling together and what you think of each other. But I'm actually curious about an even more basic question. What does everybody look like? Like, this is also partly self-interested. I do want to
sure.
But yeah, what's everybody's kind of physical appearance?
I have like a reference photo I can post on Discord. That's actually for when we do character portraits. And the reference photo is not like of a dragonborn, but actually of like the kind of dragon that I'm imagining, which I have to admit is the like Tran family dragon. So those of you that don't know me, my last name is Tran, and we have a special dragon. So I think Lirin is he's like really big. He's I think the Dragonborn in this world, I think, Dragonborn usually are thought of kind of bulky. I think this is like a more big and kind of like slender and like lanky thing with, but still, I'd imagine this is like a pretty intimidating sort of presence. And he has sort of like long, like sort of like kind of, I guess, like a mane or like hair and these sort of like whisker things. And he dresses very simply. As to sort of like not draw attention to himself, which is a sort of impossible, just because he is this sort of like large dragonborn sort of creature, right? That is generally sort of towering over most other species, and as like his father, he is not quite as imposing as father was, but he would be sort of on the larger side for even a dragonborn. Which it was easy to find sort of guard work when he came to the city to do that, just because he, you look at him and you're like, yeah, you'll make a good bouncer. You're not gonna let anyone in.
Got it. Okay, cool. Very helpful.
I think Loon is, like I said, I wrote down 53, and is about 5'9" or so, so tall but not super tall. I think as someone who's worked the land and a farm, animal, raising animals and crops and things is lean, but very like strong, muscular in the sense that has moved his body his whole life, but lean and sort of like a not frail way, I guess. And very very tanned because from being out in the sun, and very weather worn in skin, sort of hair, very white hair, kind of balding on the top and things that you would expect for someone who's been physically laboring their whole life.
The word rangy is coming to mind as you're describing this character.
Sinewy, maybe sinewy.
Yeah. Like not vanity muscles. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like working muscles. That have pulled. Pulled the opposite of my muscles. That like it have pulled rakes and like carried things and around. for 50 years.
He's been in the field since he was 4.
Yeah, well, you know
But actually, yeah.
They start them young here. They start them young.
Yeah, there's land to be
or
worked.
might be old, actually.
Yeah.
This rice isn't going to harvest itself, y'all.
Right.
So Tamari is she's probably about 5'6". So she's proficient in acrobatics, athletics, and stealth. So she is like slender. Like if you just imagine someone who is just very versatile and being able to move, and she also has like the feline shape shifting. So if you can just imagine, her movement is very. I don't know what the right adjective is, but if you can imagine that, like that's how she moves around. And she likes to, or has sought out more forest areas to hang out in, and privately, or maybe more privately, like test out her shape shifting, even though she at some point suppressed it a lot and whatever. But so her outfit or gear, I guess. Let me tell you about outfit. Her gear is, simple leather armor, but she has this really badass cape that's like kind of foliage leaf-like, flowing like aesthetic to it. Of course, she has a long bow and a quiver, and her hair is. I have also a picture that I sent Prof A that might need adjustment as I'm also trying to think about like what color hair will she have and all that sort of stuff. But it's very much like I don't know. It's like I don't know. How would you describe that style, Prof? Because you saw it. It's like her hair is kind of like up.
I could look at it.
I could also try to.
I didn't want to keep getting notifications.
Not bouffant.
Yeah.
All I can think of is like a beehive.
No, it's not. It's not like that. It's like more angled, like a point, kind of like if you imagine one cat ear, like that's like coming over.
That's cool.
her hair, but short and not like super long, but it's kind of more like accented that way. So when she does the cat form, it kind of just flows out a little bit more out of her. That's
nope, I don't know the word for that hair.
Yeah, I don't know the word. We'll post it in Discord.
Yeah. Well, we do have an artist on standby, so
true. Okay. Y'all will just have to wait to see if my beautiful word picture matches the visual. I see it in my mind, but putting it to words is harder.
Speaking of words, I don't know if this is, you know, the word lithe. That's what I was thinking about your movements, like very graceful, like cat-like.
Yeah,
like a cross between a gymnast and a dancer, almost.
I thought you were going to say a cross between a gymnast and a cat, which is what I've been imagining.
You move on a curve. Cats move on curves. They always they're very yeah.
Ooh, I didn't think about it.
Flexible.
Chart my cat's path next time.
There's always a slight curve to it.
Yeah, send me a video so I can study it.
Yes.
Yeah. Get method with it.
All right. So this is all really helpful. So the three of you now, you find yourselves at the gate of this. I don't like that track. I take it back. I would like
retcon the track.
Yeah. We're gonna do this one instead. You find yourselves at the gate, standing at the gates of Ma Gao, which tower in front of you. Interestingly enough, the Northerners, rather than sort of bringing their own kind of architectural style, drew a lot of the inspiration of the city from the architectural style of the land of. From the land of Wu'Xian. So all of this actually looks fairly familiar to you in terms of how everything's being built out. But still, in front of you are these large, imposing gates. And in front of those imposing gates stand two guardsmen, clad in armor, sun hats, swords tucked into their backs. And as the three of you approach, you contemplate what your next step is going to be. What would you like to do?
I think we should act casual. We're supposed to be here.
Yeah, I'm stealthy. I belong here. I'm just walking my cat-like walk.
I've come to the city a number of times to sell, to trade and sell and things. So this is familiar enough, a once a year trip or so that I've taken to the city. Yeah,
and that actually reminds me, Loon, that you, in terms of languages, you are both fluent in the native language of Wu'Xian as well as the language of the Norse. And so as you, the three of you, casually yet confidently saunter over to the gate, one of the guards turns to you, and you can see there's a large scar across his forehead. It looks like it's fairly old, but he turns to you and with a grizzled voice speaks to you surprisingly in the Wu'Xian language. Now, this person clearly is not somebody who's had a lot of experience and is not deeply fluent, and so the sentences are coming out a little bit clunky, but you can make out the words, stop, business, here, why, in Wu'Xian. How do you respond?
So I've interacted with guards for years, and usually they don't speak our language. They've come with their own language and use it and expect us to use it. So this has taken me somewhat by surprise. So I initially was going to try to just ignore the guards and just say we're here to buy, but I tell them instead that we've come looking for someone specific, and we've been looking for the tale teller.
Okay. The second guard at the mention of tale teller, and also this second guard has not met you before, so they're also a little taken aback at how fluent you are in the language of the Northerners. But it seems like their ears perk up and they turn to you with a raised eyebrow. In the Northern language, he asks, "Who are you to be looking for the tale teller?" And this is just generally directed at the three of you, so don't feel like you're the only one who has to respond.
I think Lirin is going to attempt in the Northern language, but I don't think he ever has picked it up very well. To say that it's a personal matter. He's going to have a little. He's being civil, but depending on how perceptive the guards are, he's taking a little. He's a little spicy. He's a little spicy.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of curious about your proficiency with the language. So can you do me a favor and give me a d20 roll with your intelligence modifier?
I can do that. Let us see. Oh.
Yeah. I looked at your character sheet earlier.
Let me see. Sorry.
I didn't study it. I'm not trying to pick on
that's an 8.
An 8 modified?
An 8 modified, yes.
Okay. So.
Oh wait. Sorry. That was I rolled actually the wrong. Sorry, I haven't rolled straight stat rolls. That is a. Oh boy. Sorry.
Oh gosh.
That is a 7 in intelligence.
I'm like, please be better. No.
So what's your final roll?
Oh, that's modified. The modifier brings it down. The modifier does
7.
Oh, okay, got it. All right. So with that roll, you do the best you can to harness as much as you remember about the Northern language, just from listening to passersby on the road. But what comes out of you is not what could be considered a fully grammatical sentence, and in fact, comes off. Actually, you one more for me. Can you give me a charisma?
I can. Let's see. Just a straight charisma.
Yeah.
This is a much better stat, and yet.
Oh my god. Oh, perfect.
That was a 6. Modified.
Not only does the sentence not come out fully grammatically, but it also comes off a little bit gruff. Adding to that is the natural kind of guttural tone of your character's voice. And so even though you eloquently express to me as a player what you would like to say, what comes out of your mouth is a string that can basically be translated as not business yours.
I think he just growled. I think he just like that was like just an actual like.
The guards scratch their heads, and then they turn to Tamari. They stare at her expectantly.
We're here to pay respect to a fallen member of our family.
They turn to one another and they begin conversing quietly in their northern tongue. Loon, are you listening in on this?
I am. I'm trying my best to hear what it is that they're saying.
All right, go ahead and roll perception for me.
Is that a 20?
D20 plus your wisdom modifier.
D20 plus wisdom. Oh, that's a +3. All right. It's a 12 plus 3, so 15.
Okay. And so what you overhear, and I'll just say this to everybody, but what you overhear is basically the two of them are fine, but she wants the dragon. And so the guards turn back to you. They wave their hands toward the gate, and the first guard, the one with a big scar across his forehead, pushes the large gate open. It swings weirdly fluidly for its size, right? And it seems fairly effortless. Part of you, Lirin, wonders if there is not the magic of the way animating this gate in some kind of form. But the gate cracks open large enough for the three of you to enter if you should so choose. What would you like to do?
I think I'm gonna ask, hey, did that sound, what were they saying? Did you catch that?
Yeah, they feel we're fine, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about you. They even indicated you specifically that they may challenge you.
Well, I don't know why. I mean, I stated what I said. I don't know why.
Well,
I don't know why they reacted like that, but you know, I'm
Lirin, you sounded a little grumpy, don't you think?
You tried this date.
You know,
I'm glad you tried.
People think I come across as grumpy. I don't know why. I think I am not super intimidating personally, but I don't know. Well, I'm not. I'm not worried about it. I think I can talk my way through this.
I guess so.
So I'm gonna turn to the guards, and in their own language, I will thank them, and in fact invite them for a drink at the tavern when they are off to repay their kindness for letting us into the city.
The first guard waves his hand in a gesture, not of welcoming, but of, at the very least, dismissal into the gate.
Could I would like to kind of, if Lirin is not already in between me and Loon, kind of shove Lirin between us.
Yes, Lirin will allow himself to be shoved and say, "See, Loon, you had nothing to worry about. You always worry so much."
Okay, all right. Can you give me a quick dexterity? Because
oh no, not dexterity.
As you do this, you see the second guard actually begin to reach for Lirin.
Dexterity is the worst thing that
No,
could have happened.
Come on, Nat 20.
That's a 12.
Sorry, not from Lirin. Excuse me, from Tamari.
Oh, for me. Oh, I can do that. +3.
+3. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's got
wait,
big
where is it?
Tamari energy.
19.
19. All right. So the second guard actually reaches out to try and grab Lirin's shoulder. But as they do, you very lithely slide your body in between. He ends up brushing you and almost looking embarrassed as he pulls his hand back. The three of you, get your first glimpse into the docks district of the city. And that is where we're going to end our adventure for today.
Sweet. Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's so cool.
Awesome. So fun.
That was so fun. Oh my gosh.
I don't know if y'all want to do like post game chat now. Or I also have a hard cut at 5, so I'm gonna have to jump off.
Yeah, we only have a few minutes left.
I would just say that was really cool, and I wish it was next Thursday.
I know.
So we could just keep going.
Just keep going continuously. Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could keep going.
It's like a time warp. Can we like roll like a D20 for like a time warp? Just compresses the next 20.
It's good. Short burst, savor it, because then we have the next thing to look forward to in a week.
So I think you were being better at not looking at chat, Prof A. But everyone's just talking about like what a great GM you are, and also I mentioned earlier that like little booklet that you made of the like for this campaign setting. I don't know if that's something you want to post or not, but like it like in the public parts of the Discord. But like that was so freaking cool. Like I could not get over the thing that you made. I was like, oh my gosh, like I would like pay money for this. Like you know what I mean? Like it looks so cool. But you know I thought that was really neat for the play setting.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I think we'll have to pay money for it eventually because the all of the artist stuff that I use is copyrighted. So at some point we
yeah.
For that, or just like commission our own art. Somebody had an art question, but none of
backlog.
At the moment, none of the art is original. But we do have an artist that's going to be working on our character model portraits.
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 So more to come on that soon.
Yeah. No, I'll just echo chat sentiment and say, Prof, this is fantastic guidance and from all of us playing together and stuff too. But really from our session 0 last week up into like all our Discord chats and the stuff you put together, and then today, this is awesome. As someone again who's never done this before, like I'm already enthralled.
Yeah. And I can't emphasize enough that like our session 0 was just talking about the world, and like we hadn't rolled our characters, we hadn't figured any of this out. So this was like all live that you were seeing today. Like, like the journey we went on with Lirin and his father, and that when it went like so, it's like all very live play, real play. And I never know the journey that Prof is going to take us on, but it's it's always a good journey. It's just like it's so fun. It's like you're one of my favorite GMs for sure.
Oh man, thanks. That means so much. Yeah, this is great. I will say, as kind of a last note, Tamari, I was not expecting that move at the end, but I appreciate it.
Look,
this could have turned out.
Tamari is all about survival. I almost asked to roll an insight check or something like that because I'm like, no. Lirin is like my role model now. I gotta, older brother, gotta protect.
I'm kind of getting the vibe in the way that Loon kind of like sees through some of Lirin's fronts. I think Tamari maybe is not.
No, opposite, complete opposite.
That's awesome.
I love it. Okay, well, I don't think we have a time definite for next week yet, but we'll let everybody know. Or do we have a time definite for next week? Is it 3 to 5 again?
I'm good with that. I'll try not to. So behind the scenes, I like rushed in at 5:59 my time, like right before stream started. I'm like, I'm here. That shouldn't happen next week. Like this time still works for me.
Great.
Okay. Y'all.
Yeah.
Cool. So if that works for y'all, then
should be good. Should be good.
Signing off for now, but we will catch you all 3 p.m. U.S. Pacific next week, where we enter the city of Ma Gao for the first time, and we find out what awaits our heroes inside.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you all. Yeah. Thank you all for all the subscriptions and stuff too. We'll see you all. Yeah, that was awesome. Hype train. We get a hype train.
Wonderful thing to come back to after our break.
Much love to everybody.